Hello, Secret Flies. I am Fruit Flies. My name is Joseph Moore, and you are watching the Jalden Show. I'd just like to say now that this video is probably going to be over 5 minutes because of the complexity of the nature of the topic that I'm going to be discussing with you right now. That topic, if you couldn't have guessed by the title, is encryption, or how to keep messages secret. It's extremely necessary in modern society to keep messages secret, or just any information, from getting into the hands of the wrong people. Why is this? Well, it's the same reason why you want to keep a lock on your gun safe or a password on your email address. Certain tools in the hands of the wrong people could lead to disastrous consequences. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about some ciphers that range from simple to complex. I'm just going to talk and my editor will fill in an overlay over this, so hopefully you understand what I'm talking about. Perhaps the simplest of all ciphers is not even a cipher at all, but really just rearranging the letters so that it looks differently. Alright, picture this situation. You want to disguise your words. All you really have to do is write some message in kind of a square or a block of some sort in horizontal columns, and then instead of taking the horizontal columns, reading them as that, just take each separate column, divide it as you want to, and then there you got a messed up phrase. Look at it. This isn't really encryption, as all the letters remain as they are, and anyone with an inkling of pattern recognition could really figure this out quite simply by just taking the first letters in each word and then the second letters in each word and then kind of forming it like that. However, this method can still be viewed as a pretty strong cipher, as well, especially when compared with this next one, the Caesar shift, which is especially quite weak. Okay, so the Caesar shift works this way. Take all the letter in a message and just kind of move them up the alphabet the number of times you want them to be shifted. You can move them up 3, you can move them up 10, you can move them up 25, which is really the same as moving up back 1 because you got a 26-letter alphabet. The Caesar cipher is the weakest of all ciphers because in actuality there are only 26 possible combinations that you could do, and it would take no time at all for a computer to go through all of them. There is an inherent frequency in the English language. It's probably common knowledge that the letter E is the most common letter in the English language. So if you have any written message that's scrambled up according to the cipher, odds are if you look for the most common one, it's going to be E. Not only this, but there are very common digraphs or pairs of two letters like ER or RE or TH that occur very often in the English language. And because of this, if you recognize these patterns, then it's very easy to kind of uncode it. Just so you know, there's a little mnemonic to know the frequency of the first 12 letters, or which 12 letters are the most frequently used in the English language, and this is Eta, Oin, here I'll go from this way, Eta, Oin, Shurdlu. These are the most common letters, and if you're ever on Wheel of Fortune, it would be good to know this. One way to combat this fingerprint of the English language is to have the same letter code to different letters depending on its position in the message. So you could have some sort of password that you just write down in the message and then add the two kind of letters together to get a completely new message that looks completely different, because if you're going to have like the word look, the two O's aren't going to code to the same letter, which makes it very handy to do. The only problem with this cipher is that with sufficiently long messages, you could recognize the frequency of every 5th letter or every 6th letter, depending on how long the code word is. Which really begs the question, is there a way to encode a message with just one repetition and being completely random as possible? And yes, this is the holy grail of encryption, and it's called the one-time pad. The one-time pad essentially works like this. Let's suppose you have a die that has 26 sides, and for each letter in your message, you roll the die and shift the amount that the die comes up as. You record the die roll on a piece of paper, and this would be your key, and then the message would be completely randomized. There would be no inkling of any information on the previous message in it at all. It's the equivalent of shuffling a deck of cards. There's no prior information in it whatsoever. Okay, by now you may have already noticed that there is an inherent weakness in this cipher called the one-time pad, and it's that you need an extremely long key if you have a large message. What's the point of having a key that long if all it does is encode that message, that scrambled message, into your basic thing? And there's no practical way to convey both of those pieces of information without having it leaked into the public somehow. The way modern algorithms handle the whole length issue is to generate pseudo-random numbers from a given seed. This seed could be the milliseconds taken from a computer at a given time, which could be just crunched into an algorithm to make a string of seemingly random numbers. And by random numbers, I mean a string of numbers that has every single number occur roughly equally, and not only that, but each pattern of numbers occur roughly equally. Like 1 and 2 would occur as equally as 3 and 7. It's weird to think about, but in cryptography at least, random means completely flat or no information at all. Okay, so let's say you want to convey some information over a public line, except it's private information, so you want to encrypt it. Except the way you need to encrypt it is to have you need to share the encryption key with someone else over that same public line. Now, if someone wanted to decrypt it, they could just take that encryption key and run the algorithm backwards. And this is where the importance of one-way functions occur in an exchange like this. Now, a one-way function is basically a function that you can get by going one way very easily, but it's very hard to get the original expression by going the other way. Examples of these are modulus equations and determinants of matrices, but these are kind of complicated and I'm not going to go over them right now in this video. All you need to know is that it's very hard to know what the matrix is by knowing its determinant. There is a way to exchange a key publicly while keeping a private key with the utilization of these one-way functions, and this exchange is called the Diffie-Hellman exchange. Look it up in the link below. Let's say two people, Jack and Diane, have never met each other and they want to exchange some private information, maybe a bank account number. And they don't want it getting into the hands of a third person. We'll call Eve for eavesdropper. One way that they could exchange this key, let's say that they have a special function mixing together a couple colors. Let's assume Jack has two colors, red and yellow, and Diane has two colors, blue and yellow. When Jack mixes his two colors, it makes orange, and that would be his public color. So he kind of moves that over the public line. And then when Diane mixes her colors, she gets green, and she moves that over the public line. And the eavesdropper doesn't know the individual colors, so all she knows is orange and green. Okay, so what Jack has to do is mix his original color to Diane's shared color, and he'll get the one that they're both going to get, and then Diane would mix her private color, the blue, to the orange and get the same color as Jack got. There's no way for Eve to get this color by mixing together the two colors that she has, in this case because she'll have twice as much yellow, we'll suppose. Jack and Diane have a secure key that they can both use to encrypt or decrypt the message that they want to share, whereas the eavesdropper has no way of obtaining that information. Now that's all very well and good, but I'm going to end this with one of my favorite ways of encrypting a message, which is not through some fancy sort of algorithm, well, sort of it is, but it's a lot more visual. Using a computer program of some sort, you can convert a message into binary, and from there you can convert the binary into kind of this black and white static. Find some random image off the internet, like, I don't know, this one, and then overlay that static image to the random image that you've found, and then you could share that, I don't know, over email, and it would look pretty similar to the original image. However, if the person that you're conveying to knew that that image was doctored or hidden image, you could look up that original image on the interwebs, what I'm on right now, and kind of divide out the original image to find out what the black and white static is, and from that determine the original message. I hope you've enjoyed this quick encryption lesson. Bye, my name is Joseph Moore and you've been watching The Jalden Show. This is me, signing off.